Hello and welcome to Jump Change. A bit of a different one this week. We've got Luke, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How's it going?
Good. And we've got Squiggles, who I've mentioned quite a few times, all the way from Australia. Are you there, Squiggles?
Here I am. How are you going?
Good. How you going?
Good, man. Yeah, how are you going?
Man, how you doing?
Go on then, Luke. I'll let you. I know Squiggles quite well. I've been talking to him for years, so I'm going to let Luke get to know Squiggles, and then you guys listen in.
Yeah, cool. Well, anyway, Squiggles, thanks for coming on. It's actually really exciting to have someone else on the podcast for a change.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so I'll start off with asking you a few questions about yourself, and then we'll move on to a different topic later. So I guess a good place to start is to talk about who you are and how you got into crypto.
Well, I guess it was around about 2013. I stumbled across a YouTube video that explained that there was a website called Silk Road, and what was possible with that, and that it was like eBay but for illicit activity. And I was like, what? No way. So yeah. So I looked into it and quickly discovered what Tor was and what onion routing was all about and what encryption was, public key and all that. And then somehow, managed to track down a place to buy Bitcoin and transferred it through numerous wallets thinking I could hide it. And then eventually got someone to Silk Road and purchased my first little bag of
product.
Product. That's right.
Product.
And I didn't expect it to turn up. I honestly expected it to, not show up at all, and it did. And I was like blown away, literally.
Cool.
And and I was like, oh my god! And so my first Bitcoin purchase was at $87.
Wow, God, that's a good time to buy. Wow.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And then after a few times, I started realizing that the price would go up, price would go down, and I thought, hey, I could buy low and sell high. And so I found some charts online, and I knew absolutely nothing about TA. I didn't even know there was such a thing as TA. I saw the candles, and I saw things like Bollinger Band and stochastic, and I was like, why would people put this stuff all over their charts? It just messes with the charts. Honestly, I didn't know what it was for. And so eventually Bitcoin ran away up to over $1,000, and I went, well, that's me. I'm done. I can't afford that. I'm out. And so I left it alone for probably till June of last year, and thought, I needed to buy some sort of electronics device, and I had $150, and that wasn't enough. So I thought, I'll buy some Bitcoin, and then at the end of the year I'll buy it, and it might have gone up by then. And realized that it was like, I think 2,000 or almost 3,000, I forget now. And I was like, wow, cool. And then I realized as well, on my phone I had a Blockfolio wallet that I'd left some chump change in. And at the time it was probably about $30 or $40 worth. And I looked at it and it was like $500 was sitting there, and I went, what?
Oh, wow.
No way. So and that was a nice little happy accident. And then I started sort of getting more involved in the community and watching lots of TA videos, and then I just got hooked and just learnt more and more and more TA. And I didn't want to pay for it, as I eventually found TradingView, didn't want to pay for it, and was frustrated that I could only have 3 indicators on my chart. So I realized that if I wanted more than 3, I had to learn how to create my own. And so I taught myself PineScript so I could build my own indicator.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah, I definitely want to talk to you about TA later. I seem to know a lot about that. But at first, it's really interesting that you got into Bitcoin in 2013. So Rob and we got into it early 2017. So I was wondering, what was different back then? I'm sure so much was different. How did you buy it? How were you able to transfer it? What was the landscape like?
Well, that was in the Mt. Gox day. I am a Mt. Goxer, I guess.
Wow.
You're
a pioneer, man.
They still owe me 0.7 Bitcoin.
Points.
No
That's a
way.
lot.
Yeah, and
That's loads.
apparently I'm going to get it back. Apparently, so
Really?
yeah, the whole legal thing that's been going on. I get emails every now and then.
Yeah.
Get sort of updating me.
Oh,
what's
fingers crossed, man. That's a lot of money now.
Yeah.
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely like my whole
Yeah, I mean-
mindset's changed now. So,
Yeah.
sorry, what was your original question?
So yeah, what were the major
landscape.
difference back then?
Okay, so
yeah, landscape. Yeah.
there wasn't as many places to buy it. I know that much. In Australia, there was well, I wouldn't call it an exchange. Well, it was sort of. It was called CoinJar, and it was, this is the price. Buy it. Just take it or leave it. If you want to buy now, just buy. So there was no placing an order in it for it to eventually buy or to eventually sell. It was just like, this is the price. Take it or leave it. And so at that point, it was like, well, that's fine. I'll just buy it and then send it through a few wallets and eventually send it over to Silk Road. And I think there was actually, I think that was the only place that I could find here in Australia. I did eventually come across Coinbase, which I imagine was around then anyway, but I found that later down the track.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So in Australia, is the crypto scene big or
It's getting
more popular?
Getting really popular. In fact, there is Brisbane Airport. Every single merchant at Brisbane Airport accepts cryptocurrency.
No way.
Yeah, I heard that lately. Really taking it on board and making it mainstream there is awesome.
Yeah.
That's class.
It's really. I'm so.
I'm in South Korea, and there are a couple of places too here, but not as much as you would hope, actually.
Yeah, it's still.
Just to butt in there as well. You said about like 2013 is when you first got into it. We almost did as well. Remember, Luke?
We almost did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that was 2013, right?
Around
Ish.
maybe yeah, maybe 14
And
actually.
Luke laughed at me.
I laughed
when
at him.
when I said about it. So that put me off buying it. So.
Don't blame me. Don't blame me. I was very into gold. I was very tangible. I want something to hold, and I'd only ever seen negative news, like negative headlines of Bitcoin. So, and I knew a little bit about the Mt. Gox thing. I was like, it's kind of not safe. It's not worth putting your money here. But I was wrong.
Say that about gold.
I'm only teasing.
I know.
I
feel bad though.
I had a kilo of silver that I'd bought.
Oh yeah,
or something.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, and I was like, the price of that's not going anywhere, and this Bitcoin thing's shooting up. I'll do that. So I sold my kilo of silver and bought 5.5 Bitcoin. And
wow.
I know, and I wish I could remember.
That'd be a good deal today. Kilos.
Yeah, but I mean, some of it probably went up in smoke, and some of it got traded away.
Literally
bad trades, and no idea what I was doing. But
that was class. No, it's good. Actually, you're probably the first person I've actually spoken to who was around in Bitcoin in 2013. You hear a lot on Twitter, but actually to speak to someone who's doing it is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, the funny
so you mentioned about TA as well. Yeah. I know your Discord chat group thing. I'm not sure what to call it. I know you're quite heavy into TA there, right?
Yeah. Well,
So do you want to talk about how you learned about TA and what your group is all about?
Yeah. So I learnt about the RSI and the MACD through YouTube, because basically everything I learn from Googling and YouTube. So I have a lot of time in my hands during the day where I can just learn through absorbing everything. So I was watching a lot of YouTube videos on TA, and this is what's happening with Bitcoin, and this is what's happening. So eventually I sort of absorbed what they were doing, and then I got hold of YouTube by, what was his name, Barry Burns. He's also a YouTuber that does a lot of TA on stocks and commodities sort of trading, and he told me, well, didn't tell me personally, but he explained what the MFI was, the money flow index, and how it was a volume weighted RSI. So it was like, okay, well, volume seems to be pretty important. And so I sort of got a bit more into reading different indicators, and eventually I came up with the concept that an indicator is like gossip. It's like one person's opinion, and the more people's opinion you get, you eventually see a trend of truth. So that's how I sort of approach TA. Is like I'll have something that tells me a lot about volume, and then I might have something that tells me a lot about price, and then I might, something that tells me a lot about trend and those sort of things. And so I'll have like a range of, like a symphony of indicators, you could say. And so occasionally I'll put a few more volume indicators if I want to really drill in, or it's sort of like that. So originally my channel started because there was a guy over in the UK that I was helping to write some indicators and design our own indicators. And it was hard to sort of explain to him what I was talking about in the code. So it was like, what I'll do is I'll just do a video. I learned how to screen record through the OBS Studio software. So I decided to do a video that I could just put up on YouTube, give him the link, and he could see what I was talking about. And then that sort of turned into a bit of a tutorial. And I figured, well, I'm a sort of, I have a teaching background anyway. So I thought, well, I'll do some tutorials, because there's not a lot of really good tutorials on PineScript out there. There's some, there are some, but I just never got what I needed to out of it. So I figured, now that I've advanced my own knowledge far enough, I thought, well, the people that are coming behind me, how about I give them some really easy to know sort of some information, but explained in the way that I would want it to be explained if I wanted to really delve into it. So using, I guess, my teaching methods, in a way, it's very loosely put, I just figured I'll just start really simple and then just build on it and build on it and build on it. And
yeah, that's really cool. And you ended up making this big channel where you help people and teach them how to use TA and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I decided to open up a Discord channel, because I thought, because I don't like having conversations on YouTube comments. Like, it's really hard to have a conversation. So I thought, well,
Gets nasty.
I didn't want to deal with trolls. Mind you, I haven't had any trolls, cross fingers, which is nice. But I thought, but I did. Nice. But it also started to feel a bit like I was like a free help desk. There was a couple of people saying, "Oh, how do I do this? Or can you code this for me? Can you write me an indicator that does this?" And it's like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, right. Taking advantage of you.
And it's like, well, how about I put some cryptocurrency wallet addresses up there, and if you feel like buying me a coffee, then they can send me some crypto. I don't think anything's showing up so far. So I thought, all right, well, I'll create a group where people can come and ask questions. I'll post my videos and I'll post the code up there. And over time, there'll be people show up that are more knowledgeable than me, and they can sort of share. And I'll just sort of try and guide the community to, as an all-out help everyone talk about it, a place to hang out, really. And so it sort of grew from there. And one guy showed up, and then he brought all his mates along, and they're really, really knowledgeable guys, and it's got some really good skills. Like there's some developers in there, and it's incredible.
That's amazing. So can you let everyone know how they can get involved and get into your Discord chat?
I suppose the easiest way is to find my YouTube videos, because the link to the Discord is in the description of those videos. So the channel the YouTube channel is called Squiggly Lion, which is kind of a play on words. Cool. Squiggly Lion, but it's lion as in like the wild cat. So yeah, it's a. I don't know. I'll send the link to you, and
we'll definitely link it in our Twitter account and in the description of this podcast too. That's amazing, and I really that your perspective on charting was really interesting. How you see it as gossip rather than kind of indicating the trend line. That's really it's a good perspective. And it's good. I like that, actually. I think that might help me a lot.
Just to put out there as well, I've been speaking to Squiggles for years now, and he is literally one of the most helpful people ever with this stuff. He sort of explains things in a simple way, and I mean, it would have taken me a long time to get to that point with some things, and he just explains them in a way
You're
that's
too
just
kind.
awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's class. So everyone, join his chat and just watch his YouTube videos and all that stuff. Links in below.
Awesome.
Links in the comments below.
Thank you. You're very kind.
Cool. No, it's helpful. So, Rob, you want to talk about HODLbot a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah. So, the original podcast episode that we did. So we've done a couple of episodes actually. When I first discovered HODLbot, I mentioned it, and first thing I did was sent it to Luke and sent it to Squiggles. Luke tried his bit, Squiggles tried his bit, and then I did a recent podcast where I had changed some settings to a downward, like a bear trend market sort of settings, and those settings came directly from Squiggles. So we were just kind of wondering if maybe you'd sort of share your how you sort of came up with those settings, for example, why you think, like, because we've spoke about the rebalancing portfolio sort of strategy before. I don't think I completely understand the main benefits for it, or at least I understand in a way that I think it could benefit, but I don't see the wider picture. Can you explain any of that?
Yeah. Well, originally when I came up with those allocations of those coins, the all-time percentage was 21,000 something. And I'm just having a look at it now, and because of the recent downshift in the market, that's now come down to 15,000, 443% of all time, which is still pretty good, I guess. But I suppose it was a bit of an epiphany on the way to work. I was thinking, what would be a good structure, and what's done well through this whole year. Like, this year has been an awful year. Well, it's been a bear trend. I mean, it's been awful. But I mean, markets go up, markets go down, and it's in the grander cycle. This is just it's just a down cycle. It's like an exhale. If you can't breathe in forever, you've got to breathe out every now and then. So, I thought, okay, well, TUSD, like a stable coin, being more weighted in that, it was 30%. It would mean that when things do well, then it sells it into a stable coin, essentially taking profit. And then when the other coins when the other coins drop in value, then all that stable coin that you've got is ready to deploy, essentially. So it'll move some of it into the better coins that are dipping. So buying the dip and taking profit. So when it comes to the other coin, other than Bitcoin and TUSD, the second highest was actually Binance Coin, because I figured it doesn't matter whether the market's going up or whether it's going down. The Binance Coin is going to get used no matter what. So there's going to be a demand for it. So that was my thinking in weighting that the second highest. Bitcoin only being 15%, because if Bitcoin's dropping in value overall, you still keep some, because you still want to hold some Bitcoin all the time. But it became, in a down market, Bitcoin became a bit more of another altcoin that you would sort of share in your portfolio. And then the other four coins were just coins that I thought were strong, like Zcash was good. Ethereum is a platform coin, so there's always going to be ICOs happening. Maybe not a lot of ICOs at the moment, but there's still ICOs going on, and gas and all of that needing to be used. I liked your idea, Rob, with Monero, that link that you shared with me, how Monero is destined for great things in the future. And I really like Stellar I don't know why. Everyone likes Stellar.
Everyone likes Stellar.
Luke's actually drinking Stella right now, right?
Stella beer. Yeah, different Stella.
Stella Artois.
So Squiggles, can you do me a favor? And can you just go through that portfolio one more time?
So
it was USD,
TUSD, yes,
or
TUSD.
Which one
I
was
wanted
it?
to get away from USDT. I wanted to get away from Tether because I didn't trust it. So TUSD
Yeah,
is, I think,
interesting. Yeah.
out of all the stable coins, I think that one's got the higher liquidity. Like Tether has liquidity, like
Yeah.
full stop.
Okay.
But TUSD is the next liquidity, volume side of things.
Yeah. Right.
So that's at 30% of the overall portfolio. Next is Binance Coin at 25%. So just those two coins is more than 55%, or is 55% of the whole portfolio.
Yeah.
Bitcoin at 15%, and then Stellar, Monero at 8% each, and then Ethereum and Zcash at 7%.
Interesting. Yeah, that's actually really well thought out. That kind of, as the market's going down, some coins will kind of pump for a short time. You take profits from that, put it into your tether, then distribute it again as it goes down. That's actually good epiphany.
Well, I've actually got. I don't know whether you heard of this one yet, but I actually sent Rob a link to another rebalancing bot. Did you see that one, Rob?
Okay. No, I haven't seen this one. No.
I haven't had the time to look into it myself, but I did come across it at the same time that I found HODLBot, I think. And I just picked HODLBot. But
I haven't
are you using it, or
made it go live yet. I have got an account, and on today I designed the mother of all portfolio allocations. So like
wow,
I think I saw it in some finance website. It might have been like superannuation hedge fund type of thing. How hedge funds sort of tend to balance out their overall portfolio, and there's like some of the allocation is in cash, and some of it's in property, and some is in commodities, and some are in stocks, and that sort of stuff, and some are international and all that sort of stuff. So I thought, okay, why don't I look at the portfolio in much the same way? So I went over to On-Chain FX, and in that one you can filter out a list of coins based on what sector it is. So you can choose your currencies, you can choose your privacy coins, you can choose gambling coins, you can choose, like, they've got a lot of different categories. So I came up with a portfolio of 30 coins. Some sectors are like the currency, some are privacy, some are all about smart contracts, some are stable coins, some are payment platforms, some are exchange platforms, and then I got like a handful of just miscellaneous ones that I like, but I didn't know where to categorize. So there's a lot of coins there, and they all balance out. So I did a whole spreadsheet and everything, and it's I'm thinking that's going to be good once the market turns around and the current portfolio I've got sort of recovers out of the red a little bit more.
Yeah, so it's your bull
but it's still got the
portfolio.
stable coins in there, like cash. So I think stable coins as part of the portfolio is a good idea, because it's kind of like having cash on hand for those opportunities.
Right.
But it also, because it's an automatic rebalancer, it also forces you to take profit. So that's why I think, including stable coins is a good idea, even though you don't make money on stable coins, really. It helps.
Yeah, but
exactly.
It's a cash on hand for. That's awesome. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Well, one thing I did want to ask your opinion on, because I still don't know what the answer is to this, is how often should you rebalance? Should you rebalance on the state of the market? Should you rebalance on just the time frame?
I mean, intuitively, I would say it really depends on the volatility. So, and it also depends on how much your portfolio is worth, because if you have, say, $500 or £500, sorry, for you, and say a coin gets out of balance by a few percentage, to get that back in balance, it may only be doing like a £7 trade. geez, it's hard to say pounds, but I'm used to saying dollars. I'm just going to say dollars from now on. Yeah.
Dollars is fine, yeah.
Great.
Dollars is fine. We work in dollars as well. It's okay.
If to rebalance a coin is only a $7 trade, then it's really not going to make much difference. So maybe longer term balancing might be better in that situation, because you want to let the coins go further out of balance, meaning some coins run further and some coins dip further. I have heard that 7 days is about the sweet spot. But then I have also heard from other sites that like 1 day and 1 hour is the sweet spot. So I think it really comes down to how much your portfolio is worth. So like say you were playing with 100 grand, then I would say maybe hourly, because the amount something might go out in an hour may be worth hundreds of dollars. So may as well rebalance then, and it'll keep rebalancing. Like as something keeps going up and up and up, you're taking profit like all the way up. So you're taking a bit, sort of thing. So you're not really caring about whether you hit the tops and the bottoms. You're riding the trends, you're riding the movement. But if if I was to combine both my portfolios together, I'd have $500, which is chicken feed, really. So I'm thinking maybe every couple of days. And I suppose if it doesn't need to rebalance, if it can't rebalance, it won't, because the minimum trade is 0.001 anyway.
Okay. So what I've been doing is I've been setting it to 14 days, which after this kind of quick discussion, I'm thinking is probably too much. But I'm also when I first started it, I was kind of okay. If the my portfolio worth was a lot higher, within 1 day to the next day, I was manually triggering a rebalance. I didn't know if that was the right thing. It made sense. But after this discussion, I kind of feeling like it does.
Bitcoin has gone up, well, and therefore say TUSD's gone down, and you want to take some of that profit, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay, good. Just confirming my thought process in that. Interesting about the maybe the 7 days rather than the 14 days. Maybe 14 days is too long for me to benefit from those changes.
The cycle. Sorry to interrupt. The cycles side of things. If you
no, go ahead.
Right, like you don't want to worry about picking the tops and bottoms, because that's a fool's game, really. The idea is to get that bit in the middle. So even say a bull run lasts for 12 days, say, and if you rebalance after 7, then you'll get partway up that bull run. You may not hit the top, but at least if you went to 14, it may go up and then come back down, and you're not going to get much out of it anyway. At least, even if you do every day, you might get a little bit. You'll get a little bit of the trend, and then the next day you'll get a bit more of that trend, and a bit more and a bit more. So, I would probably say a week is pretty good sweet spot, but it does depend on how much your portfolio is worth, which will tell you how much things are going to move out of balance. Because it's at the end of the day, you can only trade more than 0.001 Bitcoin anyway, which is whatever. And if something goes up 5%, that may not be enough to trigger rebalance. Even though it will be out of balance, it won't be enough. That might only be a few dollars, which is no point in rebalancing. So it's sort of
interesting.
I mean, it would be nice to have $1,000. That would probably $1,000 in every 7 days would probably be the sweet spot.
Yeah. So I guess it depends on the trends
and the volatility
of the market at the time. For example, if it was happening in November or December last year, maybe 2 weeks would be good, because Stella or XRP would go up like 1,000% in 2 weeks, and you want to catch it at the right time. But in a bear market, maybe you want to catch the small bull runs.
As well.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I guess it also depends on your, like I said, your risk and your risk tolerance and everything like that too.
The other epiphany.
Interesting.
Epiphany. There we go. I
Epiphany.
thought if you were to have a portfolio of just 50% Bitcoin and 50% TUSD, I thought that would be genius, because in my mind, I thought that would work brilliantly. But I wanted to be sure. So today I actually did another spreadsheet where I rebalanced every day, and I put in some dummy numbers so that, Bitcoin starts at $1,000 per Bitcoin, and you have $2,000. So you buy $1,000 worth of TUSD and $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. So, and then each day it either goes up 10% or it goes down 10%. And it actually turns out it's not the best strategy, unless you're in a downturn. If your market's going down, then your TUSD, your Bitcoin value will go up. But if you're in a flat market or an up market, then you'll lose money over time. So I was a bit disappointed with that. Even though HODLBot says that you'll be up 600% in the last year, but that's because we've been in a down market. Yeah.
Ooh, that's concerning. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. All right, shall we wrap this podcast up with just some thoughts on the upcoming year? 2019 is coming up soon. So basically, we've had a bad year. 2018 it's been pretty awful for Bitcoin holders and altcoin holders. So what are your thoughts on the next year, or maybe in 2 years' time?
Well, if I was to just go on charts alone, I'd say we're probably not going to see much of a bull run like we did from last September until the end of next year. I can see Bitcoin dipping past 3,000, and probably somewhere around about. I have mental target. I haven't actually placed any orders, but I've got a target sitting at 1,163 on Bitstamp. It's very low, but that is the peak of the November 2013. So that's just a technical. Yeah, but there is this window in between. Now let's have a look. 1,350-ish to 1,809. There's a window there that needs trading out, where there was a top, and then there was a bull run, then there was a bottom, but the bottom didn't come anywhere near the top. So there's this little zone that there was no action. It just went straight through it. So that could be a potential area that it could get down to, and need to trade that area out. So, but it will turn around and go up. But I'm thinking end of next year, it'll probably start showing a little bit more promise.
End of next year. Yeah, I think a lot of people forget just how much Bitcoin went up in a couple of years, in a short amount of time. Or even 1 year, really, 2017 was like up from $900 to $20,000. That's insane, right? So, like, it's bound to correct hard.
A really, really big correction, because there are so many people going, "Oh, I can't afford a Bitcoin," even though they don't really understand that you can buy a $20 worth of Bitcoin. But there are people saying, "Oh, I can't afford 4,000." But bring it back down to 1,500, and they might go, "Actually, yeah, I can buy some of this," and then they'll tell their friends about it when it goes up a bit. It could reinvigorate the market by
possibly
coming back and picking up a few more passengers.
Yeah, that would be fantastic for the everyday folk. Do you think the institutional investors are going to get in soon?
Yeah, they've already made their plays. They're already
there. They're
already affecting the market in their own subtle ways. They started getting in around about 6,000 to 7,500. Because remember, this year they've already been
last year. They were
getting in around about May, April, September sort of area, August. Because remember that they're not going to sign up on Binance and buy on Binance or Bittrex or anything. They do over the counter. So you don't see those trades. I don't see that volume. That's behind. That's under the table essentially.
That's a good thing to keep in mind, yeah, because I forget those kind of things that, you know, we look at the charts and we look at the value and the worth and everything on Binance and Bittrex and everything and the movements there, but there's a lot going on outside of that.
There's an exchange over here in
easy
Sydney
to forget that.
called Independent Reserve, and they deal with a lot of over-the-counter sort of stuff. Where if you want to buy 50 grand or 100 grand worth of Bitcoin, they say, let's just get in touch with us and we'll sort you out. And so they partner people up, people who want to sell lots of. I mean, to put it this way, if you're wanting to get rid of 100 grand worth of Bitcoin, you are going to shift the market in a crazy way, and you don't want that. Same if you're buying. If you want to buy 100 grand worth of Bitcoin, you will shift the market in a bad way, and you don't want that much price slippage. So over the counter, you go, well, I'm prepared to buy 100 grand. Yeah. You're prepared to sell 100 grand. Let's just do the deal, and nobody has to be any the wiser. And it doesn't. You don't get the slippage. You don't get all of that sort of thing. It's just a done deal. But if you go to Binance and whack down buy 100 grand of Bitcoin, you're going to chew through that order book in no man's land. In 2 seconds flat, and that's going to affect the market.
Definitely, yeah.
And then people are going to panic, and then it's going to go even further, which is how they manipulate the market.
Yeah. The order books are pretty thin, actually, even on a big
stock
exchange
market,
like Binance.
They play with billions of dollars, and it doesn't move the needle. Well, maybe millions of dollars, and they don't move the needle. So the institutions could turn, if they felt like it, buy every single cryptocurrency. The 180 billion or whatever coin market cap says it is. Like somebody could come along, buy every single coin on every single exchange, and just throw it in there, throw it down the side of their couch, and forget about it, and say, right, we just killed crypto, and they wouldn't care. Like that's only 180 billion to them or whatever. And that's a scary little thing. Yeah, but then they'll just fork the coins, and then there will be more crypto out there. So it will be a failed attempt, but I'm sure they could do it, and it wouldn't move the needle much.
Interesting.
Dun dun dun.
Cool.
It's been. I think we'll wrap this one up now, but it's been awesome having you on Squiggles. It's sort of probably been our most interesting episode yet.
That was amazing. Thanks for coming on and sharing your thoughts with us. And one more time we'll link your YouTube channel and your Discord group chat to the in the description of this podcast for sure.
Yeah. And just as always, none of this is financial advice.
Do your due diligence.
Don't take any of it literally.
Do your own research. Yep. All right. Cool. Awesome. And if you like this podcast, give us a follow on Twitter at our chump change, and email is what again? I always forget.
Chumpchange@financer.com.
Yeah, that's it.
No worries. Right. Ciao.
Awesome.
All right. Cool. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks Squiggles.
Cheers, Squiggles.
Yeah. See you guys. Bye.